If you're a nurse, or if you know of a nurse in your circle, tell them to pull their chairs and notebooks, because we are going to learn a lot. We are going to spend a lot of time just exploring opportunities that Dr. Jaylene, you've found out, you've seen for yourself as you started from Kenya, I think, and then through the UK to the US. So you will tell us all those opportunities for nurses, and then towards the end, we also want to just hear your story. So let's begin. First of all, congratulations. Really, your journey is so inspirational. And I was telling you, I'm doing this episode mostly selfishly because we have a nurse in our family. And we've been sending her your profile. She has a BSN and RN. And we were telling her, Jaylene has MSc, PhD, postdoc. So long journey ahead. Anyway, welcome, Jaylene. Let's start. What do you do? Where are you based now and what do you do?
It's indeed such a great honor to be here. I've been following your podcast and have seen the growth in your podcast. I must commend you for it. So I'm currently in the US. I'm a postdoctoral fellow at Johns Hopkins School of Nursing. So as a postdoc fellow, most of what I do is research. And some people tell me that I'm still a student. It feels like it sometimes because I read and write a lot. So, but I enjoy what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay. Let's start, like I mentioned, I want us to spend the first part talking about opportunities. What I know from my little experiences, and most of the nurses that I know do, I think, what you call bedside nursing or like clinical nursing. I don't know what you call it, but where you like practice nursing in a hospital setup or in a clinic setup. But you have mostly been doing more of research kind of nursing. So please take the mic. Tell us all the opportunities that you know. I don't know, for research, for clinical nursing, whatever you can think of.
Yeah, I think nursing is a very dynamic field. You can literally do anything and you can be in any space as a nurse and transfer your skills, because nursing is all about problem solving, communication, and advocacy. Those are skills that you can literally apply in any field. There are nurses everywhere in the world. The thing is, most hospitals are still short-staffed because we don't have that many nurses, but we need so many nurses in various spaces in order to have very impactful health outcomes for patients and also for people in the community. So nurses are in the communities. Nurses are in the hospital. Nurses are in rooms where policies are being made. Nurses are in literally almost every space you can think of. So, like I said, nursing is a very dynamic field. So there is research in nursing, which basically it's like any other research. So nurses with PhDs or Doctor of Nursing Practice, as it's referred to in the US, can actually do research and contribute to new knowledge in patient care and also community health and public health. Nursing is a very, very dynamic field. If you are a nurse or if you get a nursing degree, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, you can go anywhere and do whatever you like with your degree. But you just have to choose where you thrive best. If it is in ICU, emergency, or if it's in the community or in schools, dealing with students as a school nurse. Literally, there are so many things we can do with nursing. And if I had time, I could list all of it. But just know that nursing is a very dynamic field. And if you're in nursing, don't let people tell you that you're just a nurse. You can do so many things with even a bachelor's degree. But if you advance it to Master of Science in Nursing and even to PhD and beyond, then you can do even more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we'll still explore. I don't know if you know about any exchange programs. I don't know if you know any other, I think you might know like scholarships or programs or websites or resources that you can share specifically for nurses, and maybe assume there is a nurse in Kenya somewhere who would like to explore some of these opportunities abroad. We will talk about that. But I'm curious to know, now that you're talking about research, Jaylene, what do you do? What did you do for your PhD, for instance? If you were to like just put it in a layman's language, what kind of research did you do?
So for my PhD, I did research looking at cervical cancer screening in rural Kenya. I actually collected data from Bomet and Kericho counties. I wanted to get women's perspective on cervical cancer screening, what can be done to ensure that cervical cancer is detected at early stages and treated. Because the thing with cancer is if it's found early, it can be treated, but when it goes to advanced stages, then it's difficult to treat. Just from my reading of the literature, I found out that there's very limited awareness and knowledge on cervical cancer, not just in Kenya, but in sub-Saharan Africa as a whole. I found out that from reading the literature that women in sub-Saharan Africa, including Kenya, have very limited understanding of cervical cancer and also breast cancer. But I needed to focus on one topic just for the sake of finishing my project. So I examined women's knowledge on cervical cancer, and then I tried to understand their preferences to getting knowledge or getting information on cervical cancer. And then I also used the opportunity to educate women that I met with on the importance of cervical cancer screening and generally women's health, and encouraging or empowering women to take charge of their own health and to really go for free screenings when there are opportunities next to their residences. So I defended that in March 2024 and graduated in 2024 May.
Okay. Towards the end again, we will circle back to that and want to learn more about your academic career. But is that what you're still researching at Johns Hopkins?
So right now, I do research on digital health and chronic disease prevention and management in general. But the project that I'm on is looking at the use of digital and community resources to prevent cardiometabolic diseases. So things like hypertension, diabetes, obesity, these risk factors that along the way cause huge healthcare burden, both in terms of cost and productivity of individuals later in life, because they can cause heart diseases.
Okay. Oh, wow. Yeah, that is interesting. So that is like research. That is a research opportunity for nurses. If you were to just like give us, I don't know, maybe top 3 or whatever things you can think about, programs that you have encountered, just specifically for nurses, I don't know, exchange programs, if a nurse would like to explore opportunities in the US, or the other way around, if there is a nurse in the US and they would like to go to Kenya, anything along those lines, if you have more opportunities and resources you can share.
Yeah, I know for nurses that already have bachelor's degrees in Kenya, there are several staffing agencies that recruit nurses from Africa and other countries to Western countries, because like I mentioned earlier, we have a high shortage of nurses in almost all hospitals in the world. Nurses are always trying to find greener pastures everywhere in the world. So there are staffing agencies like Connexus MedStaffing or MedStaff, I think Connexus MedStaff, and then there is Avant Health, and then there is MedPro. So these are some of the staffing agencies that have been shared by people that I know of and have benefited. But I'm very happy to share the links to these agencies. But if you're someone right from high school and you're trying to get a bachelor's degree outside Kenya, you may need to find a scholarship that will sponsor your undergraduate studies before you can become a nurse. And one thing about nursing, there's a licensure exam that you have to take in each country before you can actually be licensed to practice as a nurse. So the regulations are different in each country. You just have to know. So for instance, in the US, you have to pass the NCLEX. I know when I was working as an intern in Nairobi West Hospital, I met nurses that were already studying for their NCLEX because they wanted to come to the US and have successfully done so. So you just have to figure out, okay, which country am I interested in? Is it the US, Germany, or the UK? I also know someone who is in the UK, and I can ask for information in terms of the agency that facilitated the process. It's a process for sure, because each country has its own regulations to nursing as a profession.
Okay. Yeah, please. Once you have those links, send them to me. I'll attach them in the description box below, and my audience can check them down there. Okay, let's just go to your academic journey, Jaylene. Take us to where you grew up in Kenya. Why nursing?
Let me take you back a little bit in terms
Yes.
of opportunities. I also wanted to mention that as a nurse, I really want to emphasize the fact that you have to figure out what you love doing as a nurse. If you want to be an entrepreneur, like a social influencer in nursing, you could do that. I've seen influencers who are nurses who post videos on different aspects of nursing that they experience, and they make a lot of money on Instagram and other social media, on TikTok. And then I know of nurses that have created apps. There's an app called Mechi app. This is an app that was created by a nurse practitioner, and it literally helps people connect to do exercises. So if I love playing soccer and I don't know who to play soccer with, I just use this app to connect with people and then set up a date to go and play soccer. If I just want to take a walk around my apartment building, around my neighborhood, I can connect with people who like walking. If I want to play tennis, I can connect with such people. So nurses can be entrepreneurs too. You don't have to get hired. You can create jobs for other people. And then in research, nurses are leading groundbreaking research in cancer, in cardiovascular, in diabetes, which affects so many people in the world. Nurses are at the forefront. I know of people that are great advocates as nurses, and they're taking leadership positions in professional organizations to push some policies to implement in nursing. There's just so much you can do as a nurse. I really want to emphasize that people should think beyond the bedside, think beyond your stethoscope and your 12-hour shift. I know nurses that really likes the flexibility with nursing, that you just work 3 days, 36 hours full time. You can have the rest of the 4 days to yourself. But I also know that a 12-hour shift is not good for everyone, me included. It can be exhausting, especially in hospitals that are short-staffed. And there are just some things that you can change as an individual, but need some systemic changes so that nurses can function well in a hospital unit, for instance. So if you don't like the system, you can help change the system. And if you're part of a system that you think you can change, regardless of whatever you do, you can move to other things and, practice nursing in various ways. You can practice nursing in the community, in health policy offices, literally anything that you want to do with your nursing degree. So I just really wanted to take you back on that one.
No, thank you for mentioning. In fact, now that I have a follow-up question now that you've mentioned, I had actually forgotten about influencing. I've definitely seen nurses there dancing on TikTok and telling us some stuff, and we follow whatever they say because they are a nurse and they have these nursing qualifications and nursing clothes, and we will whatever they tell us to do medically wise, we will do. And I'd forgotten about that. So there is like influencing, there is like innovation, research, like you mentioned, bedside nursing. For you, actually, Jaylene, why research for you? Were you always sure that you wanted to do research and not like bedside or these other nursing careers?
So when I enrolled for undergrad, when I know you'll ask about my journey later on.
Yes.
But it was not always my goal. It was my mom's dream though. My mom really wanted to be a nurse. She told me that someday, but it was never my dream to become a nurse. When I came to the US, I was trying to figure out whether to do biochemistry and molecular biology or switch to something else. And I just inquired, and people said, nursing is very marketable in the US. Why don't you try nursing? And so I ended up doing nursing just out of not knowing what I wanted to do with my life as an undergraduate. And then I also didn't believe in myself that much. I heard that biochemistry and molecular biology was so hard, and I was like, I don't want to fail and be returned home after getting a full scholarship. Let me do something that people say is manageable and marketable. So it was not always my dream to be a nurse, but
Okay.
I'm here, a
All
proud
right.
nurse.
Now, I think I now want to hear the full journey. And please, all those scholarships that you've gotten, mention them so that whoever is listening, whoever would like to try, can search and apply for them. So I don't know where you want us to begin. Do we go back, or do we go back from like US, and then I think you were in the UK before here, or do we want to go from where you grew up in Kenya and then build it up?
We should probably start from the ground up, because I feel like mine is a very unusual journey, and people need to know. People just don't. I don't want your viewers to just see the final product. I've really come a long way, and I'm very grateful to God for that. And I hope your viewers will be inspired by.
I will actually just lean back. Take us all the way to where you grew up and tell us everything.
Yeah, so I grew up in Bomet and Kericho counties, but I think I spent most of my childhood in Kericho County. So I started school in kindergarten, or I forget what they used to call it at that time, but I started school in Dr. Koech Primary School. I think I did nursery school, and then I went to Lelach Primary School in Bureti for my lower primary education. So from grade 1 to 4, I was in Lelach Primary. It was a very local primary school, not as developed as it is right now. We had, dusty floors. We used to do all that, smearing our floors every week, at the end of the week, having to bring water to sprinkle. I don't know if you can relate to that, but I went to a very local school. We went to school without shoes, and we were just happy and fine. But looking back, that was rough. Then in Lelach Primary School, I think grade 4 is where things really changed for me. I was in grade 4 the first year, and my mom at the end of that year was like, you don't know how to read and you want to go to grade 5? No, that's not going to happen. And so she made me repeat grade 4. And at the end of it, again, she was not satisfied, and finally convinced my dad to take me to a private primary school, Lorraine School Kericho in Brook. Yeah, things were tough. People were speaking English and Swahili only. I knew none of it. And so most of the time I just kept quiet, and teachers were very strict. We had to do all these assignments, some of which I didn't really understand, but I think I was very good at following instructions, just because I didn't like to be beaten. But not to say that I didn't receive a couple of strokes here and there. And so I was in grade 4 for 3 years, and it really offended me. I was very disappointed in myself, and I remember actually praying. I was like, God, I'm not repeating any other class. And these years I've wasted in grade 4, I'll have to make up for them at some point in life. I didn't know how, but I was really hard on myself on that. I was like, we are not repeating any class. So from grade 4, again in Lorraine for the 3rd year, I remember being position 3 at the end of that 3rd year. But I really struggled, speaking English and Swahili, which, it was the rule. You could only speak in mostly English Monday to Thursday, and Friday Swahili. Man, it was a struggle, and all I did was just be quiet. And I think being quiet really helped me to focus and helped me improve. And then there's one teacher that I really want to highlight. My maths teacher, he really believed in me. He literally made me feel like I could do wonders in the world. And he was my maths teacher, so he really made me like maths. And then my English teacher. So my maths teacher, by the way, was called Mr. Chariot. I think I need to buy him a gift someday.
You should.
And then my English teacher, Madam Margaret, also really believed in me. And I think their confidence in me really made a huge difference. And I'm very, very grateful for them. So anyway, end of my primary school, I'm very happy that I topped my classes from grade 5 onwards up to the KCP, which again, I didn't score as high as I really wanted. I had like 376 marks, and I cried about it. I really wanted to go to Kenya High, and I knew you wouldn't get into Kenya High with such marks. But my mom was very quick to tell me that, 376, that's very good, And when I got admitted to Kipsigis Girls, it was the school she always wanted to go and didn't manage to get into. So it's like I started living her dream now. And then me coming up to do nursing, that was her dream. So at some point I was like, am I living my mother's dream? But anyway, she really encouraged me. And my dad was also very strict with school. She would say, you finish school and then you can go and do other businesses afterwards. You can go braid your hair and do whatever you want. So we always, me and my siblings always knew we just couldn't mess up in our studies. We had to take it very seriously. And that's what we did. Yeah. Anyway, so Kipsigis Girls, had a few challenges here and there with fees, but my parents really made the effort to ensure that I wasn't away from school. And I maintained the same spirit. I want to highlight the school motto for Lorraine. It was God, discipline, and hard work. And I think that carried me through high school. And I became, I was among the top 10 students from Form 1 to Form 4. Thankfully, by the grace of God, I was the top student in KCSE with an A of 83. Again, English was never my strength, but nilingangana nikapata A minus.
Wow.
I got an A minus in English, and then with that there were this. Let me just take you back a little bit. In Form 2, our principal at that time, I forget her name, but she was there briefly, and she brought somebody who was studying and living in the US. I only remember the title. It was Studying and Living in the US. I don't remember much about the presentation, but I feel like it really opened my eyes as to what I could do with my education, that I just didn't have to stick to Kenya, that there were opportunities outside Kenya that I could pursue. Fortunately, after the results, the KCSE results came out, there was this lady professor by the name Lillian Boitz, who was going around schools telling institutions about the NGO that she and the husband, and again Dr. Boitz, founded. It's called Education and Social Empowerment Program. The Education and Social Empowerment Program is the program that's meant to help talented or academically talented or bright students, as they say, access education globally. Mostly it's North America, so Canada and the US. And our principal at that time, Mrs. Kirui invited her to our Thanksgiving / prize giving ceremony, and she talked about ESEP. But she mentioned that people who have A and especially have A in English, and I didn't have an A in English. So right then I knew I wouldn't get that opportunity. But the principal, knowing that I was very hardworking, forwarded my name to Lillian Boit and did an interview. I did an interview for the Education and Social Empowerment Program, and was I didn't qualify, but I was an alternate student. That means like if somebody was admitted to this program but they gave up and went for another program, then I would be selected. That ended up happening, and luckily I joined ESEP, Education and Social Empowerment Program. I looked up today and it seems it's still active, but I'll send you the link. And so this program helped us to prep for SATs. I think they're called Scholastic Assessment Tests, and TOEFL, Taste of English as a Foreign Language. And so those tests are necessary for you to apply to any undergraduate institution in the US. It might not be a requirement nowadays in all institutions, but it was a requirement at that time. So ESEP paid for my SATs and TOEFL. Those exams were very expensive. I think $20,000 and above, or close to that. So Lillian Boit and the team at ESEP, they had like a counselor that helped us to select schools. And the counselor thought I would be a really great student of the MasterCard Foundation, and so helped me to put together an application for schools that were offering MasterCard Foundation scholarships. So I applied to Cal Berkeley, Arizona, and Michigan State. I really wanted to go to Cal Berkeley, but I got into the institution but didn't get the MasterCard scholarship. But fortunately, I got Michigan State University, and that's where I did my bachelor's degree in nursing. Like I said, I didn't come as a nursing student, but I really did not have the confidence with biochemistry and molecular biology, because I remember really struggling with experiments in biology and chemistry, even though I ended up getting A's in KCSE, but they were never my strengths. So I was like, I think I can work with people in a hospital. Even though I wasn't that confident, like I said, I didn't really have good career guidance, and I didn't really have people to look up to. So I just decided to take a leap of faith with nursing after hearing that it's a very marketable field in the US, and just ran with it and did my best and graduated within the required timeline.
Okay. That was like your bachelor's.
Yes.
And wait, Julie, first of all, I don't know, really incredible. I do not know about your backstory. I think I saw somewhere that you studied at Kipsigis, and I know it's a brilliant school, but also really inspirational journey you've had. Did I see somewhere that you were in the UK as well?
So I didn't really go to the UK to study.
Okay.
I did my master's in global health policy online from 2020. At the same time, started my PhD. So I was doing all of them concurrently during COVID in Kenya and having to work with 3 different time zones. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone because it was too much on me.
Okay.
Mentally and physically, and also socially. I mean, we were all in a lockdown, but it's not an ideal way to pursue degrees. It's better to do one at a time. How theses and dissertations can be demanding. I wouldn't recommend that to anyone. I talked to my PhD advisor right before accepting the Edinburgh opportunity, and she said, PhD is a very rigorous program. I wouldn't recommend that you take a master's degree concurrently with your PhD. And I was like, I don't know, I'm just gonna try. So I was taking, I think, one course at a time, So it was just one additional course to my PhD courses each semester. So, and I didn't do any job when I was a student. So it worked well. I mostly worked from home and just did the assignments, but I was always studying. Not an ideal way to live.
Yeah. I mean, having done a PhD where I was only just doing the PhD and nothing else, and it was very tough. So I do not want to imagine it's lockdown and you're doing it virtually and you're doing 2 things and across time zones. That's crazy. So the MSc that I saw on your profile was the UK one.
Yes, I only went there for the graduation just because I wanted to tour Scotland a little bit and take a break.
Yeah. So which uni was this in the UK?
University of Edinburgh.
Okay. Was it under MasterCard still?
Yes. So MasterCard was giving MasterCard alumni scholars opportunities to pursue a course in the University of Edinburgh online. But if you have never been a MasterCard scholar, you could get an opportunity to go study at the University of Edinburgh in person.
I see. We actually had one of the recruitment coordinator or managers for MasterCard at University of Edinburgh the other day. And so if in my audience, if someone is keen to learn more about MasterCard, they scroll to that video and you will watch more there. Wow, goodness. Wow, Julie. So you finished your master's and then you continued with your PhD and then you graduated last year. What did you learn? If there is now, this is just like one lesson you learned through your PhD. So number one, I think already you've said you should not do your PhD online during lockdown. What is another thing you would advise PhD people?
You can actually start doing your PhD online. I know there are some institutions that you can enroll and take courses 1 at a time or 2 at a time as you work full-time or part-time, whatever works for your schedule. I just don't recommend people doing a PhD and a master's at the same time unless your program gives you a master's within the same program. I know some programs like computer science, if you're out of undergrad and then you enroll in a PhD program, you'll get a master's degree after like 2 years, and then you can do your thesis and graduate with a PhD. So that is not the case for nursing, though, from what I know. If you come in without a master's degree as a nurse, you can get a PhD, but you cannot get a master's degree out of that PhD program. I hope you understand. So the big lessons that I learned doing a PhD is that learning is a continuous process. I learned so much as a PhD student, but also the other thing I learned is that at some point in life you're gonna have to choose your battles. You are going to have to choose your specialty, and because there's just so much you can do with a PhD. Once you have, let me say what a PhD is all about. Maybe we need to start from here. What is really a PhD? You know, a PhD is all about discovering new knowledge in your field. And so you really have to focus. You have to know what has been done in your field and how can you as an individual contribute to the field based on already existing knowledge. So you cannot be all over the place. So that's why I chose cancer, because that was something that I was already doing and volunteering with, and I also worked as a nurse for like a year in a medical surgical unit in one of the US hospitals, Spera Hospital. So I really had to choose a line of research to develop. So I chose breast and cervical cancer, and if you look at my publications, you will see that I have published on cervical cancer, breast cancer, and then other chronic conditions. But I really had to choose something and then pursue that. Another thing with a PhD, it is a very individual journey. After the second year, I rarely saw my classmates. I rarely met any of them. I know we barely met because we all started as a COVID cohort on lockdown. But once we started focusing on our own research or research activities or dissertation, as they call it, or projects, people call it different names. We really had to do our own things and really focus on the line of research we had chosen. And at some point, it felt really lonely and uncertain. The days I wanted to extend my program because I just thought I didn't know what I was doing. That day, I wrote my research questions several times, and my advisor kept turning it down until she felt like I'm proposing something innovative and not just doing something that's already been done. And once I had that approved, it was easier to now, try and answer the research question and identify the research methods that I was going to use. But it can be a very lonely journey. It's very helpful to find people that at least are doing research that are closely related to what you're already doing. For me, it was a friend called Dominique, who was doing research also on cervical cancer and was practicing as a nurse practitioner. So I really tried to stay in touch with her, would meet sometimes and just work on our dissertation projects virtually. I also had other friends from my Bible study group that we could schedule writing accountability groups to just focus on our research projects and just write, not talking, just have a timer running. People can take breaks whenever they want. So I really did not want to be alone in the US trying to do my own research. It was just very lonely, and I just had to get out of my bubble and go socialize sometimes, and also really find other comrades that understood my journey and we could relate to the PhD struggles.
Okay, no, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Before we talk about another thing that I know you're passionate about, and it's social empowerment, you had mentioned, and I know there is a project you are running. But if you were to just look back through, I know you mentioned that most of the journey you were just like discovering on your own. You didn't have like really a lot of mentors maybe. But is there something that you would change if you were to go back to Kipsigis and then and to restart your journey?
If I were to go back to Kipsigis Girls as a high school graduate,
if you were to start your journey all over again and you are in Form 1 in Kipsigis now, will you choose the same path?
I wouldn't choose actually the same path. So
okay.
I really want to emphasize the fact that I was never confident in my ability at all. And I never had people to look up to. I have older cousins, but feel like we never really interacted. We never talked about careers. It was just something I had to find out on my own. So in Form 2, for instance, when we were choosing subjects, my mom, I love her, by the way, but this is the advice I think she should not have given me and I shouldn't have listened. So she said, Joy, I don't think you should take physics. My cousin, I won't say her name, failed or didn't get a good grade in her KCSE because she took physics. Me being an obedient child, I was like, you know what, maybe she's right. I just was afraid of failure, and I was already, I knew I was among the top in almost all tests. I knew I was on the right path. But when it comes to my career, like choosing a career, I just didn't know what I was going to do with my life. But I knew I loved physics. It just made sense to me. I was the second best student in an exam that we did just to select the subjects that we were going to do until end of high school. So if I were to go back, I'll take physics. I will do all the hard courses. I will do computer, which I dropped. I don't know. I could have been a computer scientist, but guess what? I didn't do computer. I dropped it because I thought, my grade was not so great or not so good to me. If I were to go back, I'll do all the hardcore courses and just be anything that I wanted to, or anything that I could be. So once again, I really want to emphasize, like, if you are a high school student, find a mentor, or at least know what you want to do with your life. If you are in college, please, if you haven't discovered what you're passionate about, please go find that out, because you don't want to be in a profession that you don't like. Right now, I work full-time. If I didn't like my job, I don't think I would go back Monday to Friday. It's really hard to do something you don't like. I'm just glad that I found my way around nursing, and now I get to do what I like. But I would have changed my journey in a big way, if I were to go back, knowing what I now know. But you know what? We live and learn, and this is life. We make mistakes. We make decisions based on the knowledge we already have. And thank God for GN Inspire. I have seen you try to bring in different people to share their knowledge and expertise. It's very important. I wish I had this in high school, or even somewhere along my college or undergrad life.
Yeah, no, and thank you for the shout out, by the way. I'm nodding so much because also personally, I did what I wanted to do. I wanted engineering and I did engineering. But also over the years, I'm now like a young professional and just like building up my career. But then over time, I'm like, wait, I did engineering because my brother studied engineering and I loved it. If I was to go back, actually, I think I'll still do engineering. But then I think I was just like really narrow-minded, and I was just like engineering. I was not even like looking sideways. And now I'm just encouraging all my mentees, hey guys, just look sideways. There is AI, there is gig economy. People are making careers here on YouTube. Just look sideways. Like, okay, yes, pursue whatever once you know what you want to pursue, as you follow, just sometimes just pause and look sideways. Yeah. So anyway, so that's why I'm bringing like people here. I'm like, just please reflect. And so I like the fact that when you reflect, you help us also learn, and you help my audience like also at least live or learn through your lenses, which is good. So another, before you give us, you will give us like top 3 lessons for students and for young professionals. But before that, talk about your social empowerment project. I read about it and I loved it. Tell us what it is. I think you call it Mwangaza.
Yeah, so Mwangaza Cancer Initiative was really born out of sheer curiosity that I had as a second year college student, and also out of need. So I just happened to be reading a Kenyan news article, and it highlighted the fact that breast and cervical cancer were on the rise in Kenya. As a Mastercard scholar, one of the things that they really honed in on us was the need to go back to your country after you graduate or once you have a job or whenever you choose to, is go back and give back. And it was just a theme that, at some point when you don't really know what to give back, it didn't really sit well with some of us, but I think it inspired my journey to founding Mwangaza Cancer Initiative. So after my internship at Nairobi Hospital as a nurse, I spent the last 2 weeks. It was a 10-week internship, so I spent the other 2 weeks to try and see how I could contribute to the breast and cervical cancer space. So I asked a friend, and also I collaborated with friends, and then I talked to my former school principal, Mrs. Kirui, and she allowed me to go and teach the girls in Kipsigis Girls High School about breast and cervical cancer. And then she happened to also have a sister who is a nurse, and she told me, you can go to their dispensary and teach women about breast and cervical cancer. So from Kipsigis Girls High School, I went to a dispensary in Bomet next to Tenwek. I forget the name now, but it was really a great experience for me. So I literally went and taught what I knew from researching online about breast and cervical cancer. And then when I went back to Michigan State, MasterCard partnered with the Resolution Fellowship to give students like small grants to do projects they were passionate about. So I applied for that grant, and fortunately I was given about a $3,000 grant. And then so I used my network to bring together medical professionals, actually students who are medical students and medical students and nurses that were interested in partnering with me in this project. Anyway, long story short, we have been able to educate women and girls over 4,000, also been able to participate in local screening programs for breast and cervical cancer in Kericho and Bomet County. I was able to register the organization in Kericho County, so it was a CBO based in Kericho for the longest time. This year we had to take a break because I realized that I was leading the organization, but I really needed space to breathe after the PhD program and having to start this new position. So this year we haven't done any activities, but we just paused the organization activities so that we could re-strategize. But we are still we still and are really interested in contributing to breast and cervical cancer prevention and control in Kenya. I don't want to take all the credits because I was mostly in the US when things were running back home through the Mwangaza Cancer Initiative. And I really want to give a shout out to Mwangaza Cancer Initiative e-board that were ensuring that the decisions we made as a board were implemented in Kenya. So there's a time last year and the year before we focused on providing women free biopsy guns in Kenya. For some reason, in some hospitals, if somebody has like a suspected symptoms and signs of breast cancer, they are told to go and buy a biopsy gun so that the procedure can be performed. So we started just collaborating with nurses in Kericho County Referral Hospital to find people who couldn't afford to buy biopsy guns and couldn't afford other screening or diagnostic procedures, and then we just pay for those screening and diagnostics, so they didn't have to go home, go find money and then come back, because sometimes that can lead to loss to follow-up and the disease is progressing. It's not waiting for these women to find money to go back to hospital. So I'm really proud of our team because we've helped several people, some of whom we will never meet, or most of us have never met, but we're just really proud of the work that we've been able to accomplish as an organization. And we are always looking for grants. So if you or any other individuals watching your show, find any grant opportunities, we are very open to applying for them because the need is huge and our healthcare system still falls short in several ways as Kenya. It's a fact. We are really falling behind in cancer prevention and control.
Yeah. No, No, thank you for explaining it. And that is it's a noble project you guys are running. I wish you all the best. And
Thank you.
I'll ask all the funders who are watching this show to connect with you. I'll put your LinkedIn link in the description box, and they can connect with you there. So just in closing, Doc, 3 life and career lessons you've learned so far.
Yeah, 3, it's really hard to narrow down into 3, but I'll stick to it for the sake of your program. Life teaches you a lot every day, and we never stop learning, and I hope your audience never stops learning from this life. Anyway, my first one that I think it really hit me last year after I graduated. The first one is having faith over fear. At some point, you're just gonna need to believe that, things are unpredictable, things are uncertain, but somehow things will work out for your good. And if you believe in God and trust in Him, even better, because it gives you hope to hang on to when things are not working out for you. The second one, which I think I learned from my primary school, is discipline. I think discipline is destiny, honestly. Whatever path you choose in life, in terms of career, you are going to need some discipline, because it really gives you structure and helps you grow. I don't know of any successful person that was not disciplined and got the best out of their life. I don't know if, Gladys, you know of any.
No.
And then the other one, which I have mentioned several times today, is have confidence, but with humility. The confidence will help you walk and speak up in rooms that you walk into, but humility will help you keep those doors open. You are going to need to learn whatever field you choose. You have to learn some things. The way we do things in nursing is not the way you do things in engineering, Gladys. That I know. And then listening to especially mentors, learning from those mentors, learning from your colleagues, you need that humility. But also, when it's your time to speak up, when it's your time to take on a project, having confidence will help you execute what you need to execute. And just learn to give it your best. We all don't know everything, but we are always learning. And you talk about curiosity. I've seen you talk about curiosity in your posts. And curiosity is what helps all of us learn. But as you learn, you need that humility to keep those doors open.
Yeah. I will not want to dilute. So thank you so much. And just because of time, we will pause there. And just to thank you for coming and for sharing your story and these opportunities. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Great. Goodbye.
Bye.